Hey, it's Mr. Johns. Welcome to our first virtual drive as part of the Idaho Online Driver Education course. And just really the purpose here is to help you relax a little bit and know sort of what to expect on those, especially the first driving lesson. So I know a lot of people, a lot of you are stressed and nervous about that. And I get it. And truthfully, I'd rather you be a little nervous than be overconfident, right? So usually we have more problems with drivers who are overconfident and not worried than those who are a little bit nervous and apprehensive. So, your job here is to show up to the first drive knowing most of the material in the Idaho Driver's Manual and from this course. So that's your responsibility. So study the laws, study the techniques, so you'll at least be familiar with the terminology so that when you show up, your instructor isn't telling you things you've never heard of, right? So when you do show up, you're going to be introduced to the car. I tried to pick the ugliest four-door driver's ed car I could find in this program. And you're going to do what's called a circle of safety, probably. Now, not all instructors include this, but it's traditional for most driver's ed instructors to have you do a kind of a circle around the car. And they may not actually have you walk around the car. They may just have you inspect the car, right? We call it the circle of safety because we're looking for anything that could be a problem. Now that could be as simple as flat tires, or it could be a broken beer bottle behind a tire, or a tricycle in the driveway, or even a child playing in front of or behind the car. And so you just really don't know, and your job is to make sure that this car is safe. And another thing not to overlook is inside the car, does it look like it's empty? Are there any, they call them unwanted, we call them unwanted passengers in the car? And I joke about that, but it's a serious thing. And so you want to make sure that no one is in the car that shouldn't be. And so once you get in the vehicle, your instructor is going to introduce you to the controls and what's what and what's where. Probably start off by adjusting your seat so that you are, a comfortable distance. Everyone's a different height. A comfortable distance from the pedals, and so your heels should be touching the floor, and you should be able to just comfortably just press down with your foot to give it gas and brake. And remember, the gas is always on the right, the brake is always on the left. All right, now this is an automatic, and 99.9% chance, there is a 99.9% chance that you'll be in an automatic. Very few driver's ed programs use a stick shift anymore. Because that's a whole different skill that takes time. And we only have 6 hours with you in the car, and so we typically will use an automatic so we can just shift from P, park, to D, drive, and it's in gear, right? So it's pretty simple. So you need to kind of look around the car and be familiar. Your instructor will probably show you what's what and what's where. We have the speedometer right in the middle. Right now you can see it's on 0 miles per hour. It's the biggest round one right above the steering wheel. You also have the heat gauge, and it's right in the middle, right between hot and cold. And then you also have a gas gauge, and right now it's on empty because the car is not started. So it would be on empty. And then you have over here in the middle console, you've got a radio, and you got comfort settings, so your air conditioning and heating and stuff like that. So, and then you set up your mirrors. So the rear view mirror just needs to be adjusted so you can see out the back, right? The majority of the back. The right side outside mirror, adjust it so you can see to the side of the car. And same thing with the left outside mirror, you can see to the side of the car. Now everybody's a different height. And with driver's ed cars, we have so many people in and out that you need to make sure you adjust the mirrors so that when you look out, you can see horizontally even with the car. Okay? So once we do that, it's drive number one is really meant to be simple. However, here's my disclaimer. This is Idaho. Some of you, and I'm teaching this to students all over the state. So some of you are way up north by Canada. The weather might be different right now. Some of you are on the eastern part of the state, close to Utah. Some of you are way down on the border on the southern part of the state, or on the western part over by Oregon. And in the middle of Idaho, mountainous, and we have everything from mountains and dirt roads to deserts, highways and freeways, but everybody lives someplace different. And so you may not even have a stop sign in your city or town, or a stoplight. You may not have a freeway. You may not have a highway. So your first drive will look different than other people's first drives. But let's just assume we spend some of the first drive in a parking lot. And how I would be talking to you during this first drive would be something like this. All right, I'd like you to put your right foot on the brake and start the car, please. Now, once you do that, I would like you to remember that the gas is on the right and the brake is on the left. Gas is on the right, brake is on the left. As I talk to you, make sure that you are listening and answering so that I know that you understand. To start, let's go ahead and just take our foot off the brake, and you'll notice that the car will just start to drift forward. Now, no gas, just let it idle. This is called idle speed. So it will just kind of coast forward in first gear, right? This is an automatic, but it does still shift. And so it's just going to basically coast forward. Now go ahead and just give it a little bit of gas, just a little bit. So just very gentle. Okay, now off the gas totally. Go back to idle speed. And go ahead and come to a stop. Put your foot on the brake. Okay, good job, good job. So in this parking lot, we are not going to worry about signaling. We're not going to worry too much about speed. So don't worry about that. A lot of first drivers will stare at the speedometer. They just stare the whole drive. They just want to stare at the speedometer. They're so worried about speeding, especially once you get out into traffic. And I get that, but it'll come. So don't worry about that. It'll come. Pretty soon you'll be able to just stay between 30 and 35 miles per hour pretty consistently, and you'll know how much pressure to put on the gas pedal to do that. So your job is to make sure you start smoothly, stop smoothly, steer smoothly. So what we're going to practice is starting, stopping, steering. All right, so go ahead, take your foot off the brake and just let it idle forward again. Go ahead and give it just a little bit of gas. Okay. Let's go ahead and don't worry about signaling, but let's just go ahead and turn to the right just a little bit. What we need to get used to is how sensitive is the steering wheel in this car. Keep turning. I'll tell you when to stop. Just right about there is good. Just kind of keep turning. Okay, go ahead and straighten it out. And I notice you're doing a nice job keeping your speed up. Go ahead and take your foot off the gas and go ahead and come to a stop. Okay, nice job. Now I'd like you to look over your right shoulder and see what's behind you. Nothing, correct? Okay, so go ahead and look forward again. Let's go ahead and look in your rear view mirror. Then I want you to I want you to shift into reverse. And I want you to go back slowly. Now go ahead and look over your right shoulder and then back as you keep going. Okay, so go ahead and come to a stop. Let's just talk for a second. So as you are backing up, most people will put their right arm on the back of the right seat and they will look over their shoulder as they back up. Okay, that's kind of the technique for backing up. No steering for now, just straight. So let's go ahead and shift back into drive and take your foot off of the brake. Let it idle. Whoa, little, I didn't say gas yet, so just let it idle. All right, now give it a little bit of gas, and I want you to turn sharply to the left. Go ahead, pretty sharp. Let's go ahead and turn around and go back the other direction. So I want you to see how much steering is required. Okay, straighten it out. And let's go ahead and speed up a little bit. We're going to go straight until I say to turn left. Let's go ahead and turn left just a little bit right here. Okay, a little more, a little more. Keep the gas up, keep going, keep your speed up. Now, have you looked at the speedometer at all? Okay, right. No, you don't need to. So you are going about 30 miles an hour, and in this parking lot, that's fine. We don't want to go much faster than that. Go ahead and turn sharply to the right now, and let's go back the other direction. Keep your speed consistent, turn sharply to the right until you are facing the opposite direction. Yeah, kind of facing that sign or box or trash can or whatever that is straight ahead. Let's just go ahead and go straight towards that. Keep your speed up. All right, and go ahead and take your foot off the gas, let it coast, and I want you to come to a stop right before the white line. If you need to give it more gas, do so. I want you to stop before the car touches that white line. Okay, good. Okay, so that brings me up to a good point here. How do you know where to stop? At a stop line, stop sign, crosswalk. We use something that's called reference points, and most of the time the outside left mirror right there, if the bottom of that mirror is even with the line, let's just try to get a little bit straighter here. I'm going to go ahead and back up just a touch. See if I can just kick a little bit straighter right there. So that's almost exactly lined up. And if I were to change the view, or we were to get out of the car, you would notice that I am not over that line. And that's a good place to stop before a stop sign, stop line, or crosswalk. Inside the car, it looks like we're over the line, right? Look at the front, look at the hood. It looks like the bumper might be over the line. It's not, right? Typically, that's a good kind of rule of thumb. Now, it's different for every car, so you're going to want to check yourself, but typically I start with put the bottom of that outside left mirror even with the line, and you're going to be safely on this side of that stop line. Okay, so let's go ahead and back up. Look over your right shoulder. Keep your speed consistent. Okay, just a little bit of gas. Backing up's a little bit different, isn't it? Go ahead and turn the steering wheel and see what happens. Just a little bit. Turn the keep looking backwards. Oh, okay. Good. Okay. And see if you can back it so all the way so we're backing going the other direction. So you're going to have to keep turning that steering wheel, keep giving it a little bit of gas, and we're going to try to back until we're facing that same sign or trash can. Whoa, that was a little bit fast. That was a 360, so that was a little bit much. So let's go ahead and try that again. Look over your shoulder, give it some gas. So now you know this old driver's ed car will spit out if you go too fast. So we don't have a speedometer looking backwards. I can tell you that we were going about 30 miles an hour. That was way too fast. So let's keep it slow. You can turn either way, and I want you to keep your speed slow, and I want you to turn all the way until we're facing that same trash can or sign. Good. Keep it going. Good. Keep it going. Okay, there it is. Good. Straighten it out and go ahead and just, no, keep looking over your shoulder. I got you. Whoa, slow down. And let's go ahead and try to stop. Whoa, slow down, slow down. We're going to try to stop this way before we touch the white line. Now, how close do you think you are from the white line? You think this is good? Think we can go a little bit closer? So you think we should go a little closer? Okay. So let's go ahead and just go a little bit closer. Stop when you think we should stop. Okay. So let's go ahead and get out and take a look at how close we are to that line. And you will notice that we're pretty good. That was a good Don't worry about not being straight. This is not a straight line, but that's a good stop. So nice job. Now, how useful is that in traffic, backing up and doing a 180 and coming to a stop? It's just car control that we're practicing right now. That's all it is. So your first drive, you may do something like this in a parking lot. You may do a combination of a bunch of things, but you honestly will probably go out into some traffic. Most instructors will not spend the entire drive in a parking lot. So be prepared to do a little bit in traffic and be prepared to understand what the laws are, especially at intersections, four-way stops, going right on a red light. And what you want to practice on this first drive is maintaining your speed. Now you can see in this view, I've got a digital speedometer, and that's a lot easier to see, but I'm going to try to keep it, 15 to 20 miles an hour. With my joystick, with my PlayStation controller, it's a little bit trickier. My finger is not as good as my foot on the gas pedal, that's for sure. Some of you with more gaming skills may be better at my PlayStation controller, but you probably don't have very much experience in a real car. So another thing you're going to practice on your first or second drive is not only maintaining your speed, but also staying in a lane, staying in the middle of a lane, and taking corners correctly. And all of those things I will cover in the second drive. So we're going to go ahead and come up here, and I'm going to go ahead and signal right and pull into a spot and park. And parking is another skill that we will cover another day. And if you're wondering what the program is that I'm using, I think I was a little close, that's why I'm looking. Yeah, I was a little close. My tires are good, but really my bumper should have been boop, boop, boop. Okay, right there is good. Let's go ahead and go right about there. Oh, come on now. Like I said, it's not a gas pedal. It's a PlayStation controller. That is how you should be parking in a parking spot. Nice and straight, even distance on both sides, and your car is parallel to those lines, and the bumper is not touching the front or crossing the front of the parking space. So this program is called BeamNG.drive. It's a terrible name, BeamNG.drive. You can pick it up on Steam. It's usually about 25 bucks. I don't know if it's worth it. It's I mean, it's great for what I use it for. It's not a great game. I'm just going to tell you that. There's a lot of people who play it, and there's all kinds of mods, and people do all kinds of crazy stuff with it, but certainly not as fun as something like Forza. And lately I've been playing Forza 5, and I've had people ask me, Mr. Johns, why don't you just use Forza 5 as the software to demonstrate driving skills? Well, there's a couple problems with that. Driving games are made for breaking laws. Let's be honest, right? Driving fast, crashing into things, driving crazy. It's a fun, and I love driving games, it's a fun way to drive unrealistically. So don't fool yourself into thinking you're good at racing games, so you're going to be good at driving in real life. They are not the same thing at all, okay, at all. So while Forza 5 is a super game if you're looking for a great racing game, there's a couple problems. One, you can't use your signals, and that's a big thing in driver's ed, signal. You have to be able to signal to park, signal to change lanes, signal to merge. Anytime there's a change of direction or a choice, by law, you have to signal. So just with that one thing, I couldn't use Forza, just that one thing alone. Secondly, racing games don't like intersections because bad things happen at intersections. Cars crash at intersections in real life and in games. And so good racing games don't have intersections. So if you look at the map inside of a racing game, you'll notice lots of roundabouts, lots of merges, not a lot of four-way stops or uncontrolled intersections. Very, very few. So there's another reason I can't use something like Forza or other racing games as an example. So anyway, if you're looking for something to practice with that's more simulator, this is, I would recommend it for that. BeamNG.drive. It has all kinds of scenarios and challenges built into it, lots of cars to choose from. You can change all kinds of settings. But what I like is that there's like a training ground, and this is the first area of the training ground. That's really just a parking lot with a big parking lot, and what's around that parking lot is a angled banked track, which is also very cool. But we'll jump into some other parts of the training ground next time in video number 2. So hopefully this will just kind of give you a quick introduction to what to expect on your first drive in driver's ed. For now, Mr. Johns is out.